Hello, everyone. This is another event of the networking channel. And first of all, let me give a brief introduction to everyone and perhaps wait in for 2 minutes just to make sure that people arrive. This is the first networking channel student data challenge. We are going to talk a little bit more about it today. And please, the next slide. Uh, okay. And so we have three people here for the panel. First, it's a pleasure to introduce Professor Antonio Augusto from the Computer Science Institute of the Federal University of Fluminense. He's an associate professor. And so let me just go over a little bit his short bio. He's associate professor, and he received the master and PhD degree from the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro, COPPE Institute. This is the Engineering Institute in my university. And he was also a visiting professor in University of Massachusetts. Even went there as a PhD student before, and then for many occasions. And he also received grants from the fellowship from the Brazilian government, and another fellowship, important fellowship from the state of Rio de Janeiro for research, for young fellow research. And we have a pleasure of getting two of his students that worked in the challenge. Rodrigo Chimelli, he's a master's student at the same university as Antonio Augusto, and Daniel Cota is a PhD student. They are key to develop the challenge. So before I proceed, we start the event, I'd like to talk about the next event as usual. Could you please move to the other? So the next event, it'd be November 12th, and edge computing in the real world. And we have three very good speakers. First, Professor Hamesh Sit Taranamana. It's a great is Marco Ajmoni Marsan, who I'm the networks, and also is a steering committee of the so you can follow our Slack channel, and here is the link as usual. And recordings are available at YouTube, and also for those who have the problem but register, don't forget to register so you can attend later if you cannot participate right now, but you can give also for later reference of this work. So before passing the word to Antonio Augusto, Professor Antonio Augusto, let me give you a very brief introduction of the how this came about, and help Guto. Guto, are you here? You can
Yes.
just yes. So pleasure to have you. But
It's
Guto
my
is going to
pleasure.
tell Mite is going to tell more about the challenge, of course. But let me just give you the introduction. So Brazil has a national research and education network, and it's called for short RNP. And that National Research and Education Network, it connects all the universities and research institutions and also provide service to our community, to the Brazilian community. And one of its key responsibilities to serve as a test bed for not networking research. So it has been key in developing of network in Brazil, and it works very close with the research community in Brazil. So the research community collaborates with RNP, Research Network, through various technical committees, and one of which is the Technical Committee on Measurements. And Professor Antonio serves as a coordinator for this committee. It's a committee that has worked for many years now. Other colleagues have been coordinating in the past, and it helps one of the issues happen to collect measurements and give measurements for the research community. So about a year and a half ago, there was a memorandum of understanding, a MO, that was signed between RNP and MLab. I guess most of you know about MLab that provides measurements from anyone that goes to the link and provides measurements. And what's the MO is about? It facilitates, I've been involved with the agreement since the beginning and facilitated the agreement. It took us about a year, I guess, to develop the agreement. And it follows with that agreement, the RNP servers, they function as MLab servers between other duties. And that's important because we have RNP servers spread all over the country and in key position. So it's an excellent infrastructure for those of you doing research and to understand about networking. And this collaboration and has been enables to establish a network of all connected servers across Brazil for measurement purpose. So we hope in the future that we will be able to promote other challenges and include more ideas that help students research in the research community to cooperate and to participate. So, Professor Antonio will now describe the challenge, and without further delay, I talked already too much, but I hope it helped Professor Antonio Guto that you'll be telling more about all the experiments and all this, what happened to be able to come up with a nice proposal that was supported by the steering committee of the networking channel, and we hope that's the first of many others to come. So please, Antonio, go ahead. I guess we cannot hear you. You are with mic closed. Your mic is off.
Yeah, I was wondering if can you guys see my screen?
Perfect.
Okay, and okay, so first of all, let me thank you, Edmundo, and all the steering committee of the networking channel. It's really a pleasure to be here. I always try to watch these events, and I learn a lot. And so when Edmundo invited me to try to reproduce or propose this data challenge in the network channel, it was very exciting for me, and I really appreciated the invitation. So let's see how it goes. It's an experiment that we are trying to do here. I hope to engage a lot of students, even professors. So this is something that's going to be totally new for me. But anyways, let's try to describe what we have set up as a proposal. But let me also give a brief introduction and tell a little bit of history of this data challenge that we are producing here in Brazil. So I hope you can see the slides, right? Can you see the slides, Edmundo?
Yes.
Okay, good. So as Edmundo mentioned, here in Brazil, we have this network for education and research infrastructure and company, let's say, which is the RNP. And the main objective of the RNP is connect universities and educational and research innovation institutes in a single community into the system, which is the RNP company, through the internet and security services available nationwide. So the main purpose is to contribute to the science education in the country. And it allows the student, faculty, expert, and researcher to work collaboratively to produce knowledge, development skills using emerging technology. So all of these through a national academic network that Brazilian Science integrates with the high performance and global partner. So the RNP has many objectives, smaller, let's say, that's not the main one, but there are some others. And some of them is to operate the national-wide backbone for connecting all those institutions. So this picture here shows, I think this is the most recent picture of the backbone connecting all the 26 plus the District Federal of Brazil, which are 27 point of presence. And all the research institutions in Brazil connect somehow in one of those point of presence. And we do have not only a very, very large country, but different conditions, socioeconomic conditions that makes the connection not really uniform in between all those point of presence, and that bring problems to all of these, some of those partners of this network. So, for example, in the northeast of the country or the north of the country, the connectivity has much lower capacity comparing to São Paulo, Rio, or Brasilia, for example. So these backbone here, for each of these point of presence, there are several services that the RNP offer. And one of the services, the measurement and monitoring service. So they have probes of measurement connected to each of those point of presence that collect data and also actively send measurement data among all of them, among each other. And all this data results in a huge amount of data that not only helps the RNP to understand and to prevent and to detect problems in the network, but also it helps the community to have access to data that is very unusual to find for the science around the world. So we have so many points of measurement, and we are able to collect so many different kinds of metrics and access to all of them that we consider these very rich for the science, not only for Brazil, but also all around the world. There are so many Brazilians that collaborate with many other institutions in the world, and also part of this data is available as open science incentives that we have here in Brazil. So as a coordinator, as Edmundo said, as a coordinator of this committee that RNP has, which is the technical committee of network monitoring, I have things about how the community can create ways to advance the scientific and technical manners to help not only the RNP, but also to prospective the technological advances to help the community somehow to use this data or to advance the area of network monitoring. So one of the ideas that we have 2 years ago was to come up with some proposals of data challenge to show the community what kind of data we have, because all this data could be used for anyone that would be interested. So there are two fronts that is coming with this data challenge that I'm going to explain later. But this community has a coordinator, which is me, but also there is also Gustavo Araújo and Daniel Cota. They are auxiliary coordinators of this committee. So thanks not only Gustavo, Daniel, and Rodrigo for all these data challenge that we have been working with. So the committee has some different tests, not only prospective, but also to promote and incentivize the usage of the RNP service, for instance, the measurement data that they collect. And just to give you some idea, there are some tools that RNP has been developing to help the community to use this data. So there is, as part of one project that we have developed, is a tool called Network Boroscope that you can see in real time what's the quality for each of these point of presence that has been collected, metrics like RTT or losses or trace route or things like that, that's coming from the point of measurements that the RNP have. So the community can access this data, analyze this data in real time, but also can download the data and try to do some kind of analysis by themselves. So another project that has been developed by RNP is called the Data Catalog Project, which is a kind of menu that the community has access to all the data that is available from RNP, all the data that users or the academic researchers may request to RNP to have access. So in this catalog project, we show what are the features of this data, how they can manipulate the data, what kind of values the features may expect, and as a menu, they can just push a button, click, select what they want to recover, select an interval of time, and then press the button, and by email we will get a link with access to this data after having all the data processed, recovered from the database, and then offered to community in a repository that is available to download for a researcher. You use, for example, a Dataverse version that has been integrated to this project. And one of the data that is available right now is the data challenge that we run last year into 2024. Then I'm gonna give you some idea of how was this data challenge before coming up with the proposal of this new one. So what are the CT, the committee, CTMON RNP data challenge? The idea is to motivate the community to use the RNP data. And how does it work? Usually, we define a problem simulating a networking problem. Could be anything. For example, could be a selection of the best server to download certain content, for example. We set up a Kaggle platform that's going to be used for the submission of the solutions. And we open a registration form and to let it run for a while. And after the deadline, we see what are the teams that led the challenge. And for the RNP data challenge, you offer some kind of incentives in terms of projects for the Brazilian researchers to develop a few more months research using that data, the researcher that won the challenge. So in 2024, we had 15 teams submitting solutions from different universities. Some teams had 3 students, some others had only 2. Some are from the same universities, the teams, some others integrate different universities. and it took like 1 month long for the solution. And just to give an idea how was the proposal at that point, we have data that was collected from MLab and data that was collected from MonIP. So MonIP is the platform of collection, data measurement collection from RNP. And we put all of these together in the challenge that we defined. So we put Dash, which is a Nailbot Dash tool used by MLab to compute the available bandwidth, the throughput. We also had the RTT and trace route, all of them running between different points of presence of measurements in Brazil. So here you at that point, we used the MLab nodes in Brazil and the MonIP nodes at the same point of measurements, running at the same time, collecting these three measurements, and we come up with some data that was a window of 15 minutes, 10 dashes, and the RTT and trace route to offer the teams. And what they had to do is to try to discover what would be the average bit rate for the next two window, I mean, the next two dash measurements. So that was the challenge for the first data challenge. Oops. And here is how we performed at that time. So we started with, this is the same platform that we are gonna use in the data challenge for the network channel. We use this Kaggle platform, and the first submission started like as soon as we opened. In a very few days, there was already some teams submitting some of those solutions. And this team, the três medidores submitted a few of solutions. So we define a baseline, and all the teams that want to run for the prize, they have to beat the baseline. So in a few submissions, these medidores, they already bet the baselines with the proposed solution. After a few days, there were some more teams that were beating the baseline. So as you can see here, there was two other teams beating the baseline, and they score in the third column here, or fourth column here. You can see also the number of submissions that beat the baseline, and when was the last submission that the group put them in this position. After some more days, you can see that this became very popular for the community here in Brazil, and we have several other submissions beating the baseline. And in the very last day, we had something very interesting, because I think it was a Sunday, and the teams was spending the whole weekend submitting a few entries. There is a limit of 3 submissions per day. So the teams was expanding the Sunday, submitting some new solutions for the challenge. And at the end, we have those 3 teams as the leaders of the challenge, and they got the prizes after the end of the challenge. So what happens that this year, we come up with another problem definition. We run again this data challenge, and I'm not going to describe how was that, because it's basically the same problem that I'm going to describe for the data challenge of the first networking data channel. So what we did at this time is a replication for the second edition of the CityMon data challenge. So it ran in October of 2025, actually end up in October of 2025. It was run for 1 month in September. So last month, we have at that time 17 teams, and those teams was coming from different Brazilian universities as well. And it took 30 days, approximately 30 days to the students to come up with a solution. And the challenge context here is different from the previous one. So we collect the data from MLab, and the we are not using data from RNP here necessarily, but nodes of RNP could be involved, could be part of those data that we use it for the data challenge. So the problem is a problem of detecting internet route change. So how the problem has been defined, we have several RTT probes between approximately 200 unique pairs of machines in the MLab. So I'm not going into details about the MLab because I think it has been part of discussions here before. There are a lot of information about MLab, but we query the big query of MLab, recover a lot of data, approximately 30 million samples of approximately 2 months of data in this big query. And this is from 200 unique pairs of machines from MLab. So this was data from the reverse trace route of the MLab, but we pre-process the data, getting only the RTT of the last hop of the data. So, and the challenge here is from this RTT, can we detect if there was a change in route considering the previous reverse trace route of that same pair? That's the question. So, and try to infer if there was a change or not. So for certain sample I of RTT measurement session for a machine pair XY, for example, we want to know if it is possible to identify changes occurring in the route taken by the probes in this session compared to the probes in previous sessions of the same machine pair. So there is here an example of how we collected this data. So the MLab, there is this raw data that's stored by the Google Cloud and offer the big query. We went to the big query, made a lot of queries, recover 30 million of samples of reverse trace routes. This reverse trace route was from 200 different pairs of machine. And let's say that we have clients and servers in these data. Servers may be appears many times, clients may appear many times, but the pair X1 and Y1, for example, counts as one out of those 200 that I described. So for each of those pairs, X1 and Y1, for example, there are many times reverse trace route that has been run or collected from the data set. And let's suppose that we have n sessions of reverse trace routes there. We get only the last hop RTT and offer to the community the RTT of those last hops. But we know all the RTTs or all the trace routes, the complete trace routes in between X1 and Y1. So what we want to discover is only from the RTT measurements can we infer if there was a change in considering that session compared to the previous session. That's the challenge here, right? So for those that want some more details about the RTT, we have RTTs in a trace route for each hop in between a pair X and Y, for example. So the X and Y trace route comes with RTT 1, 2, and 3, for example. We save this data to have an idea about what was the route that the trace route had been performed. But we make available only the RTT of the last hop. which would be here in this picture, the RTT3. If you compare the session of the measurement in between this source and this destination in different sessions, the session I compared to the session I-1, I can know exactly if there was a change in the route or there was not a change in the route. So that's the target here, to detect if there was a change or not, there was not a change in subsequent trace routes in between two pairs of machine of the MLab. Okay? So what kind of data we are offering here? We are offering the trace route ID, the trace route source and destination, so the X and Y, which are unique identifiers of the source and unique identifier of destination machine. And note here that we have anonymized the data here because someone could try to get the same data from the MLab again, right? And know upfront all the response. So we anonymized this data from the source and destination IDs. We also have all the RTTs from a session. So all RTT in a session are structure considering all the samples of RTT for that specific session. There is also the number of attempted and the total probe sent, the total reply of the last hop, the data index that represents the first recorded day, and the second and the third and the fourth. So there is a ID for the date, or like a timestamp, considering the number of sessions that pair has been performed. There is also the second since the start, the time since the first measurement of the data set, because we also do not have the timestamp, the real timestamp, trying to prevent someone to go there in the MLab and recover the actual data set and try to discover that. And there is the last sample, or the last raw feature, is the route change. This is an indication of true or false, because as I said, we know from the raw data if there was or not a change in the route. So this is the training data that we are offering, that we're going to be offered to the students or to the teams to learn and try to come up with a solution for the testing set. Okay? So what's going to be the testing set? So the testing set is going to be these same features, except the last one. So for all the users or all the teams, is going to be available these sets of data, which is the identifier, the source, the destination, the sum of all our RTTs, for example, the number of attempts, total probe sent, total replies, last hop of the last hop, the date index, and second since the start. So this is a sample, a small sample of this test data that we are going to offer. But note that here is missing the last feature that was in the training set. In the training set, there was the label that we were offering to training your algorithms, which is the true or false, right? Here we are hiding these for the test data. And what is going to be the submission. The submission, you have to associate the ID, which is, for example, the first number of this test data, with a label that you are going to try to infer using any kind of solution that we come up with. So the label is going to be 0 or 1, which is there was a route change or there was not a route change. Basically, which is the same last column that was offering the training data. Okay, so all the groups are gonna have access to this data for test. And we also have to submit the solution proposed by the team. Based on the solution, we are going to have a score that is going to appear as soon as you submit. And the score is based on recall values, because these, as you can detect when you analyze this data, there is much less change in the route than not change in the route. So we are going to use a metric that consider cases that are not balanced in the data set. Okay, so what are the dates for this data challenge? We are planning to start, basically, is already set up the platform to start on November 1st of this year. And the idea is to offer along the next 3 months, so November, December, and January, for the students to have fun in the case of the north of the globe during the winter, and for the students in Brazil or in the south of the Ecuador, have fun during the summer, right? So we can play with that for 3 months, and at the 31st of January at midnight, considering the Greenwich Meridional time, we will close the platform. And basically, once we close the platform, everyone's going to see a result similar to this in the platform, mentioning what are the teams that are leading the leaderboard of the data challenge for the networking channel. Okay. And how should you organize? So if you are interested in that, how should you organize yourself? You should consider the possibility of teams up to 3 students. So it's not mandatory to be 3 students. You could be 2 students or just 1 student, but we allow you to until 3 students in the third team. And there is also the possibility to have a faculty coach that is highly recommended, to have a supervisor, not only to give you some clues and instructions, but also to help in some others kind of solution development or things like that, right? And every team can already sign up in the form. So there is already a Google form that's made available. Once you fill this form with your team, we will send you the link for the Kaggle. But note that the link for the Kaggle is not going to be open until November 1st. So you're going to receive by email a link, but you can only use the link to access the solution or the submission platform on November 1st. Okay. And we also is going to describe better the problem in a document that's going to be put in online, and we are going to spread by email and send the link for the community through the website or any or other channels of communication that we have. So there in this document, you can read the document, understand better the details of the challenge, the details of the files, and details of how we expect the submission from you. And then you can start thinking about the solution and your participation. Okay, so I think this is my last slide, Edmundo. I hope it's clear, and I hope we get to motivate students to be part of this game or this challenge.
So thank you very much, Guto. Yes, it's great indeed. And note that this is the first one, right, Guto? It's the idea is to promote more cooperation and the students to have some hand-on material to work with, and maybe at class, etc. And we have already
and
one.
Edmundo,
yes.
let me just give you one suggestion
Sure.
here. I know that there is this channel of discussion I don't remember what's the tool, if
Yes, it's
Discord
in
or
the.
oh,
It was sent to everyone. The
yeah.
link in
But
this.
if any student wants to participate and does not have coach or does not even have a team, perhaps they can try to find students that catch up and come up with a team from the community. So this is something that we offer here as well. So if you don't have a team, you can try to use these channels of discussion to find partners and come up with a team. But
That's a
anyways,
great. That's a great observation, and in fact, the links were sent to everyone just right now as you speak, and we may even try to partner with students all over the world, right? If you partner to someone in the other side of the world, you have the advantage of working around the clock.
yeah, yeah, that's a really good point.
So we encourage participation that connects people or connects students all over the world. And we have already one question. And before we go to it, I'd like to have a questions to the students, and maybe you help to answer. Say, how hard was to develop the challenge for the students? What are the main difficulties for you and the students? So perhaps
Yeah,
uh,
that's a good point. Let me tell you a little bit if the first one, and there is a very interesting history about the first one, which is everyone here nowadays say that AI or machine learning can solve most of problems similar to this, right? And when we come up with of this proposal, we thought that everyone would come up with a machine learning classification, or actually what that was forecasting problem, but would come up with a solution based on any machine learning algorithms. And there was a group that led the leaderboard until the very last day and won the challenge, that they basically did not came up his solution. There was nothing to do with machine learning. It was basically statistical analysis that they made. They identify a pattern in the data, and they come up with a solution that replicates this pattern, pattern. So this pattern, and the solution was much better than any other using ML. It was very interesting to see that there is a world of statistic that should be considered when you are analyzing data that is important. But also another thing that was interesting is that we, after having the deadline, we reopened the first data challenge, and I spread among the professors in Brazil that it was open. And you were one of the professors that asked the students to submit. I, for example, put this as a part of homework for my students. And the competition was still going on, even there was no prize or nothing else. Your student led the board for a while. My student led the board for a while. And this was in the community something very interesting, seeing people really trying to beat the other teams, even without any kind of prize, right? Because the prize was before the deadline. And so this was two things very interesting. The community was still engaged on working the solution, and the winner in the first one was not a real machine learning solution. It was more statistical analysis. For this one, what's interesting is that despite we do not have any restriction on what to use, but all the three teams come up with the solution based on the same algorithms that I'm not going to say which one, but the solution of the three winners was basically the same, but was not the same for all the others. And what differed from one to another was not only parameters of the solution, but also how they deal with the features. So they create new features to deal with the features and try to predict. So finding the best way to analyze the features was, I think, the most challenging for the groups in this.
Right. And it's interesting that first you create a cooperation between students in the group, and that's learn, and then this healthful competition that like a game, right? That the students can have fun, and the idea is to have fun and be able to
Once
present in the networking channel.
One thing
With
that I suggest, sorry to interrupt you, but
sure,
one
sure.
thing that I suggest here that we did, because the committee of monitoring in Brazil, or RMP, we also have monthly, bi-weekly meetings, right? In every month we have a plenary meeting. The other one we have a keynote meeting where we invite people to give a keynote for us. But anyway, so in these plenary meetings, we use it to come up with the leaderboard. How was updating the leaderboard? It was fun because every month we have 2 or 3 new leaders in the leaderboard for 6 months after the deadline. So this was still going on. And to kind of instigate the students that was part of the community to keep working on that. So I suggest the networking channel, as you have this introduction, as you made here, presenting the next meeting, perhaps you could bring also the leaderboard, board with the leaders for the next meetings, and we see how are these competition going on.
Yes, that's a very good idea, and we do that. And remember, there's still a few days that before we put the challenge, so that we start in the date that people knows already. So November 1st would be the day that will be the challenge, and you can send questions to the channel that was put in the question and answer. So, but we have one question here that I'd like to address before we go to other question. So that's Carlos Palau, if I pronounce it correct. He said that you comment the target classes are unbalanced. Will the training data share the same ratio of route changed, 0 or 1 labels as in the test data set? You can see the question is in the question and answer screen if you press the question and answer.
Okay. Yeah. So Carlos, thanks for the question. Very interesting question and very important point. And you are right. I said that it's an unbalanced problem, so the data are unbalanced. But I cannot tell you if the ratio is the same. But what I can tell you is that we are still unbalanced on both sides. So not even only on the training, but the test as well. We took a sample, a random sample from the full data set and splitting between tests and training. And they hold the same characteristics of unbalancing.
Mm-hmm. That's hopefully you answer the question. If you have more questions, please send. And in the meantime, can I ask a question to the students? Where and if
Rodrigo and Daniel, they are there, so I hope they can help. They just to make clear, they were not part of any teams that to solve the problem, but they were part of the team to organize. But they come up with the baseline solution. So the baseline solution was from Rodrigo and Daniel.
If somehow they are having difficult to be here, perhaps you can. Okay.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Rodrigo.
Hello. And one question to both of you, because the challenge is for other students. It's we're promoting this cooperation, but you that are part of the challenge. What do you think you learned while develop the challenge? And if on your point of view, you see your advisor here mention the challenge, but for point of view of the students who were part of the this development? What are the most challenge parts, and what did you learn from it?
For me specific, was that the idea that I previously had was we have to come up with the hardest challenge possible. But then if it's a question that nobody can answer, it's not an interesting challenge. So the the most interesting and challenging part for me was balancing the difficulty in which questions we would ask and which information we would give for people to answer the question. So there's a really fine line to come up with an interesting challenge like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And you, Daniel?
this. Go ahead, Daniel.
Yeah, yeah. Same as with Rodrigo said. This the main difficult for us was to try to actually find a problem that is could be solved, but also has some difficulty associated with it. So we took a while to come up with a interesting question that could be answered and could be solved by the challengers.
Mhm. That's very nice.
And
And you,
Edmundo, just
okay, go
to
ahead.
make a point here is that we have much more something that we had considered, that as we have the whole data, and we know, for example, when there was or not a change, we have some knowledge that the students will not, right, about what kind of features really is important or not, and things like that. And as we had to define a baseline, we really wanted to come up with a baseline that does not make the students to lose the incentives to keep trying, right? Should not be very high. Otherwise, would be hard to beat with only the data that they will have access. But as we had access of the whole data, the baseline could not be feasible, for example, if without that access. So yeah, that was something that we worked a lot to come up with this baseline that was still, although something that is interesting to beat, but was something that is feasible and keep motivated the people to beat.
And great, yes, that's in fact that's a challenge itself for those who develop the problem, and it's very interesting. Uh, uh, I'm sure that people will have questions, or students will have questions as they are started playing with the data. And would you be available, of course, from time to time to answer questions over the channel that was established? Is that possible? So yeah, that
Yeah,
would be great. And
it would be
connect to
our pleasure.
people, connect to students all over the world. That's the idea. You when you connect, we would like to offer a prize of visiting to Rio de Janeiro, right? Good, but maybe in
Yeah,
the future we can.
definitely, I can offer a guide in Rio. I cannot offer a trip to Rio, but I can offer a guide in Rio. If someone is coming to Rio, I can offer a visit to the university, and it's be a real pleasure to receive anyone here. There is also the Fluminense Federal University is in the state of Rio, but in the other side of the bay, which is in a different city. So people like to say that the best thing in the city of Niterói is the view, which is looking at Rio de Janeiro in a perspective that no one that lives in Rio can see that.
Indeed, right? Close cities. But
Yeah,
one thing would be nice is also as that was in the title, the first challenge, because I do like to emphasize that it would be very nice if other faculty members could engage in having ideas, or even students give to their advisors some ideas that we could bring to the networking channel to promote education and research network. And in that point of view, also, since like to also emphasize that our education and research network, the data that collects and all the tools that Professor Antonio mentioned, they are available to anyone. They are not close to the Brazilian community. On the contrary, we'll be delighted to everyone here, and especially Guto, who is the coordinator of the technical committee on the measurement of the RNP, would help have this collaboration to release that to open data and perhaps collaborate with other throughout the world to bring more challenges or questions that make increase the participation. The networking channel is devoted to students. That's the measure for students to students. And when Goto first mentioned, sorry, Professor Antonio, we call him Goto as the nickname, and
Yeah.
brought the first learn about what he was doing in the community here in Brazil. I found it very excited and could be increased for others. So that's a way to increase participation in the networking channel, to still increase collaboration among students. And as he was immediately accept the challenge and open up a series of hardworking. I follow his work. It's not easy, but it's very nice and it came out very good in my point of view. And remember, the students who get after few months get the three first ones, you have the ability to present here. So we hope that we have one session devoted to what does the question develop, etc. We've done that previously, but in Brazil, and we hope to do that now worldwide. And who knows what kind of ideas and cooperation, new ideas for the future. And I like Goto to mention we are getting near the end, that some final words about all what he would expect from students.
Yeah, Edmundo, it's a really good point. The collaboration and the learning part are the best things to mention of this. So students collaborate among themselves, especially nowadays, right, Edmundo, that the students, they are so away from the university, probably worldwide. We have people more at home. So this kind of collaboration in between students really healthy, in my opinion. They learn a lot in between them. Also, the students, they can, after these, they can find problems, real problems, interesting problems. And for example, the previous data challenge that we had, all the three groups come up with a solution that has been the origin of a paper, and they submitted the paper with the solution. So obviously they adapted the problem to something else. Some of them, they add more data and they come up with a research problem that has been submitted as a contribution for publication. So this is something that is really interesting. So what I expect is the students to get engaged. They learn during this period of time, especially if the coach can help the students to drive in the solution that is made. I'm totally available to to clarify any point that eventually is not. And also, I'm totally available, as Edmundo said, the committee of RNP is something that's made for the community, right? So anyone that has interested in collaborating with the committee, gather data from RNP, certainly is possible, feasible to find out some problems of interest and get data and offer to the science. Right? Yeah, that's it. So something that I wanted to share is here, as I said, here's the view of our city. That is a picture that I had. So anyone that come up in the next days or next weeks or next months are welcome to visit us. So this is 2 pictures of our view from the university here, just to give you an idea.
And do some networking, student networking, right? To go to
Yeah, exactly.
So thank you very much. We run out of time. So thank you very much for all the work that I know that you put up to make this happen. Remember, 1st of November, the challenge be there. And if you have any questions, the Slack, go to the Slack and send your questions, send your doubts, and keep working, find friends, and let's see who is going to win. Okay, will be very nice. And the problem is not to win, it's the engaging collaboration and learning. That's the
Exactly.
real nice thing that happens. So thank you very much for everyone. And don't forget about the next networking event already mentioned in the beginning, and it's there already in the network channel site. So thank you very much for everyone for listening. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.